Hey there, everybody. It's Nikki Jordan of Got Space with days 2 and 3 of demanding more of myself. So, yesterday, I wasn't exactly sure if there was anything to say because I wasn't exactly sure the transition that was taking place in awareness was real or solid or consistent or anything like that. So, I sat with it for a day and I said, this is actually really fascinating. So I have posted before that I've been unmotivated, and a lot of this stuff in the world, I started feeling like it was making me unmotivated. COVID was making me unmotivated. All the strife was making me unmotivated. What's the point? And the more I sat with this, it wasn't any of that. I'm like, what is this? What is this thing that's making me feel unmotivated? And certainly it was like a shedding. There was something shedding out of me. But then that can't go on for months and months necessarily without me becoming aware of something. Then I realized, oh my goodness, truly, I think I'm changing my vibration of how I want to be. And that's kind of interesting because if that's true, why am I still struggling with the lack of motivation? Is it lack of umph? Is it lack of that pressure to move, to do something, or the excitement of something? What is it? And it's a very different vibration to connect to this world as something that you have to offer in a world that is more of a monetary based world than just to be what you are and see what happens. And it sounds trite to say that. It truly sounds trite to say that. It sounds like you're offering something up that, everybody's talked about. But what I'm talking about is when we've taken away the economies and your body sheds the energy that was associated with all that push. And certainly there are people who are working quite hard, but it's even coming from a different place. It's coming from a place of, some of them of, wow, I'm actually really lucky I have a job right now. And wow, I have all these people to support, and the complaints about the jobs that I hear are not the same as they used to be. There's a little bit more gratitude for some of what they have. And also knowing, it's really important and it might be contributing. But for those of us who, in my case, the only job I have is what I put out there. There is no paycheck or anything like that. The motivation to do everything is very different when you're coming from a place of demanding more of yourself so that you are more of who you are, demanding more of yourself so that you contribute to the world. But when your vibration is shifted so much and there isn't that push, you realize a lot of that was external or competition, right? Because the competitive drive is inherent in the capitalist economy. So there's a lot of people who don't even function from that. They go and be school teachers, for example, and they're like, of course they have to keep their job, but their job functions from a very different place. Sometimes that's true for public servants. But I remember in my field, which is wellness, education, fitness, consciousness, all of that, I remember feeling this really odd sense of competition and urgency. And I'm like, what is all this urgency for? And why are we not feeling it suddenly the longer that time goes on and we're in this situation where the economy of the world have sort of slowed down a lot in some ways? What we put into them before is different. And I realized that the lack of motivation that I felt is not a lack of anything. It's a shift of something. And it's a shift by functioning from a different place that was undervalued or completely unvalued or underused or completely underused or unused. And that is just the place of connection to rise the whole vibration of everywhere to a different place. And the reason why this is really important is because I don't want to confuse demanding a new way of living with not being interested. And so when we move from, maybe I'm not being clear here, but when we move from the competitive-based, the urgency-based, the time-based way of contributing to society to something completely different, which involves more feeling and connecting us as humanity, right? Then we're going to function from a different place. And so people always pushing, concepts of maybe even money, that people are lacking it, they're searching for it, they want it. But if the underpinnings of a society are a lack of things and people in search of them, and then we take this out and we're like, oh, okay, so we're still here even though these economies are disappearing or have slowed down or are shifting, right? Then what provides the umph when you're in this space? And I'm reminded, and I don't know why I'm reminded of this, but I'm reminded, they're telling me to say this, there's things that talk to me, they're telling me to say this. I had a consciousness coach for a while, who in the very beginning of us connecting, I explained all the stuff I did, yamana body rolling, energy work, hands-on stuff, yoga. I taught all of these things. And her comment was, and I have this on tape, say, yeah, it's not about all of that stuff, consciousness is not about all of that stuff. And she pulled me away with her enthusiasm into something that wasn't me. It was fascinating, but it required me to divorce part of me to move in that direction. And I'm now watching her coming back into the physical direction more than she was. And I'm like, I was actually kind of damaged by derailing myself, following somebody in a direction that was telling me, because they didn't understand how I approached the body. And I realized that, because to me, the body has always been everything. It's not separate from you. It's not separate from your consciousness. It's not separate from why you're here. It is you here, right? And so for me, always I've been asking people to become more aware of their bodies and connected to it in various ways. And so in the effort of being swept up in a movement of like, let's get everybody aware, let's get everybody conscious, I left off reluctantly a part of myself following something. And then I realized, wow, that really is very damaging. And so in the quiet of the economies changing now and the lack of motivation, where are we finding the threads of either who we were that we used to be, that we left off, that wasn't about creating something in the monetized economy or creating something in the capital economy, but creating something for the world, right? Now, some people invent things for money and some people invent things to invent them because there's a push for this to come in the world. And this is what I'm talking about. Where is our vibration shifting? And it's going to be foreign and uncomfortable to us that we're shifting into something that is going to create a greater world, one of connection. It may not happen, of course, overnight. That's the one thing that we have a little bit of impatience. But if we all are one, and we are here as one, and we can connect to all of nature, what if our world's going to look different and function from a different place because of this? And what if right now, where we feel like we're some people say they're in a soup they don't understand, they're hurt by the chaos and everything, the old ways of being that are kind of coming to a head. What if in this uncomfortable space, we can start to look at functioning from a different vibration, functioning actually from the quiet, from the space of having shed a lot of things. What is in there that we can recognize as us? And by riding that wave, we can find what we want to contribute here and how we want to change the world. And so these 2 days of demanding more of myself, I was like, this is funny, I'm demanding more of myself and doing nothing. Okay, so I didn't really do nothing. I started putting some of my videos on my YouTube channel, which I don't know why I've not been doing it. I've been sort of lazy, but I started putting my 25-day challenge, my little push-ups things. I'm putting these things on YouTube. I have a playlist for them, and so that someone can just follow that playlist. And I'm like, okay, this is the, how do I describe it? There's this no pressure flow. There's this no pressure flow that I'm a part of. And the no pressure flow is the, hey there, Maruna. It's the non-competition, the non-push, the gotta get there really fast before somebody else does. What if we started to drop the veneers of having to get somewhere, by a certain time before someone else does, and we all just start getting there? What if it weren't about money? What if it were, or fame or whatever it is, what if it were about creating a new way in which we function, and so that we're riding this wave of space, of silence, of what feels like stop energy, or oh gosh, I can feel it all, because that's what I am. I'm a body-centered feeling person with my infinite being. I can feel it. And how much have we layered on top of us the filters of this world, the things that we bought into? Those were the shades that I was talking about on day one, pulling up these shades. These are the filters. What filters of the way you do business, the way you think about money, the way you feel about what drives you to do something or not do something, be with someone or not be with somebody. My daughter said the other day, when she realized that we had been together 33 years, her dad and I, and of course we were together, 8 years before getting married, but 33 years, she goes, don't you guys get bored of each other? And we're like, well, I'm sure at some point we have, but our lives are not so intertwined together that we have to be with each other all the time. And the only times that our life has gotten very struggly is because we've bought into that idea of the way a couple or the way a family has to be. So these are the kind of veils I'm talking about. What if you lifted up the shade and saw what was there with clarity and see the future, rather than whatever you as a person, you with your family, you as a society, you as a culture, you as a nation, you as whatever point of view you have bought into, holds to be true. Because the energy at which we hold things and keep our lives the same and can't function from something different is wasted energy. It's energy that's actually coming against the resistance of change. And I don't even know if I'm making sense to everybody. All I can do is I can sense that the space that I feel in this space of nothing or unmotivation, it's like I start to float. We have those moments in which we float. And when you float, you can start to see, how can I go from what I was and what motivated me and put fires under me and that, to this totally different vibration of us. There is so much in this world that is too much talking about myself. And I think it's very valuable that everybody kind of started thinking about, how have I divorced myself to become this thing that I'm not? But there's a difference between becoming just you and becoming self-centered. There is so much me focus. Sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, where's the you just dancing on the stage of the we? So Leonie says, I can feel a lot at the moment. Has been feeling very weighty in different ways. Yeah. And Maruna's saying she feels that lethargic, heavy energy. Yeah. So what what if the stop energy too, if we assume that the stop and lie on the couch and do nothing, let's just assume that we consider that heavy energy. What if that's the lightest energy you could have? Because it's actually getting you to function from the space of us. And like right now, I feel everyone and everything. You know what's really interesting this morning is we have hawks here and usually see one flying, maybe two, but this morning, 4 were calling each other. And I think they were babies or juveniles. And I could see them from distant trees where they must have spent the night. And they all came from different places and came together. And then they traveled as one. And this really made me just see this. And because hawks are about wisdom, and knowing. And I'm like, wow, this is the example of you being you, but you being we. And so that is why I've spent so long in the last several years talking to people about how do you connect to the infinite you and the infinite, because this is actually us. And if we function from there, we would make very different choices. And so this blank energy, this stop energy, what if we create, not from economies, money and capitalism and what I want, what I need, and all the fancy stuff I need around me or the vacations or whatever. What if we created from us, magically from us? Maruna says, I still create even though this heaviness magically somehow, despite the stopping energy. Yeah, but you know what? What if it isn't despite the stopping energy? See, that's the thing is what if our words are wrong? What if the stop energy, as my father said, the quiet, is where it all comes in. And the stop energy of the economies might be exactly what we needed, and we're not willing to see it. We want to go back. We want to have more. What if we have something different, not the same? And what if we were willing to go and see what that is? So demanding more of myself, day 2 and 3, was like, okay, I'm demanding more of myself. And I did a few things. A lot of stuff happened, but I really didn't have any umph. It was like the lightness was almost like too light. What if we don't understand how to be? Yeah. And Leonie says, the words are wrong. I was angry and frustrated yesterday and I didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah. What if you start to see yourself doing and talking, and then I've done that in the last few days. It's like, wait, I don't really want to be that way. Oh, no, that isn't really what motivates me. Or no, that's not it. And every time you just open those little awarenesses, because consciousness is just the sum total of your awarenesses, right? And if they say we're going to ascend to the 5th dimension, that's just another vibration. And that's the connection of love and everything. What if we can't be the way we have been in order to go there with our vibration? What if we can't? What if we get to be something else there that is so foreign to what we've been being? So I don't know if this resonates with you, but if it does, or if you think you know somebody who it might help or it resonates with, please share this, because this isn't at all turning out when the universe said, okay, make new demands, or this is what you got to do for 10 weeks. And I'm like, okay, I thought I was going to be still cleaning my stairs. Now I am going to clean off my stairs, but when my energy shifts to where each thing, I'm now vibrating with the energy of what it is, and I just do it with ease because I'm moving from no need. And this takes just being to a different level because it's a different vibration of being, if that makes sense. You could just be here and it feel really spacious, but what if you just would be with the vibration that is trying to come in? What if we all stopped and received whatever it is that is trying to come in, and we're willing to be unclear and unfocused and not knowing, but just watching wants to raise us all up to a different way for the world to be. And so even the word demanding, make a demand of yourself, demanding more of myself, it isn't, that demand does not have any energy with it. It had space. Usually when you make a demand of yourself, it's like your energy changes because you get going about something. But what if it isn't get going? It's like listening, being aware, watching, just listening and watching, receiving, changing. All right, well, I hope this helped you. It's gone in a totally different place than I thought. And maybe I need new words to explain it because I just really feel it. And there's always that little piece of me that wants to remember the rear view mirror a little bit when you do this large of an up level, but I don't need to. I can really feel I don't need to. Most of the time in my life, I'm not using a rear view mirror. I'm just moving forward. But this is a vibrational difference, not a choice difference. It's really a different conversation. It's a different state. Okay, have a nice day.